Hello, my fellow renewables. I am providing your devotional for today. The verses that we're talking about are Galatians 5, let me double check, 22 through 24. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, forbearance, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. Against such things there is no law. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have crucified the flesh with its passions and desires. So we've heard these verses 50 million and 35 times. In the verses before this, it talks about how the acts of the flesh are bad things like sexual immorality, and even like things like being rageful or having envy. Those are the things of the flesh. Basically saying that these types of things are what is produced from within us when we follow our flesh. So what does that mean, following our flesh? Does someone who is not Christian automatically act like or do those things that were mentioned because they follow the flesh? And does someone who is a Christian automatically not do those things? Not necessarily. So the way I read this is that these things like sexual morality, envy, and rage and stuff like that, these things exist as the result of an absence of a willingness to be Christ-like, to be led by the Spirit. So if we're Christian, but we fail to continually work to be Christ-like, it's easy to succumb to the things of the flesh, like rage and selfishness, because there's no will to not do those things. There's no motivation or determination. But when we work on becoming Christ-like, when we put in the work and effort, when that work and effort comes from our own love for Christ and Christ's love, over time, the fruit of those efforts of the Spirit that Christ has provided in us, giving us that strength to do those things, the fruit of those things like love and joy, they're produced. Let's break it down into three things. Fruit takes time. So when we think about a fruit, what's the process? A seed is planted, like an apple seed, in the ground, and then it grows a type of vegetation, maybe a tree. And then you get some pollination between a male and female tree, or male and female parts of the tree or the plant. And because of that, the fruit is born. So it takes a while, right? A fruit just doesn't just pop out of nowhere. It's the result of a long, complicated, complex process of growth and structure and coordination. So this verse is saying the same thing. If we strive for love, joy, peace, patience, it won't happen right away. We may love or have peace or have patience for a day or a certain period of time, but it may not last, right? There may not be any longevity to those attempts. But if you continue to pursue to be Christ-like and living and leading by the Spirit that Christ has given us on this earth, then the fruits will be produced and it'll have longevity, it'll have a sustenance, right? The next part is fruit is useful. This fruit that we're talking about, it can go on to be useful, right? It can be consumed, cough, cough, Eve and Adam. If it falls to the ground, then the remains of that fruit will decompose and it'll act as fertilizer, or even the little bit parts will like feed the worms and stuff like that. In that fruit is a seed, and that seed then exists in the ground to grow another plant, right? So even past its death, past the death of that fruit or past its range of existence, a fruit will have effects beyond its presence that it had, right? So a fruit doesn't have to just exist on us or by us. Our fruits of love can go beyond us and cause others to want to love. It can cause others to want to be kind. The fruits we produce by the Spirit are more than just these visual indicators, but they become these useful tools and vessels to illuminate the world around us with Christ. And so this inspiration from these fruits that are given to others can cause them to want to be Christ-like as well, or to pursue Christ. The last part is fruits can be fruity. So if you have a fruit tree and your main goal is to get a nice quality fruit from it, maybe, I was going to say paprika, but I think paprika is a vegetable. What do you do for that to get like the best thing you can? What happens when you provide the right conditions? So you let nature work the way it's intended, with sunlight and water, right? But also you do extra things. You provide fertilizer, you maybe remove any insects, you look after it, and the fruit has a better chance at being produced because of that. Because the tree is being taken care of, the fruit will not only be produced, but it'll look and taste better too. If the fruit got mold on it or a bunch of insects put holes inside the fruit, chances are that it's not going to look or taste good, and probably might even be harmful, right? But when there's love and work put into protecting and producing this fruit, then the produced fruit will be a high quality, persevering fruit, not your run-of-the-mill grocery store fruit, but the fruit you will get in your Amachi's back garden. Fruitiest fruit. So anyone who is not Christian can strive to be loving, joyful, and peaceful, right? It's something that anyone can do. But the difference lies in the presence and rooting of Christ in our lives. So out of our love for Christ and who he is and what he's done, that will be what can guide you and correct you and motivate you. It'll be providing your water. It'll be providing your own fertilizer. It'll be providing your own sunlight. Only when doing those things do these fruits continue to be high quality, the best of the best, persevering, fruitiest fruit you can get, without our own human attempts to make them persevere, without our own will or strength to make them persevere, out of our own love for Christ and Christ's love. And that's what will strengthen and make those fruits be the fruitiest fruit, extra fruity fruit that you'll ever get. So that's sort of my time on these set of verses. I hope it gave you something to think about